In the beginning, there was only the Ether and the Keepers. Among them were two beings who would later be known by many names. One would be known as Dr. Monty and the other as the Shadow Man. September 3rd, 5 AD. Knowing the planet has a gateway to Agartha, the Apothicons sent meteors of element 115 to Earth. They believe humanity will one day use element 115 to wage war amongst themselves, opening a rift that will allow the Apothicons to escape the Dark Ether. January 15th, 1292. The Great War between humanity and the Apothicons begins. April 14th, 1294. Sir Pablo Marinus is saved from the clutches of Amargua by four unknown heroes. They would later be known as Primus. December 31st, 1299. Together with the Keepers, Primus defeats the Apothicons, bringing the Great War to an end. January 1st, 1300. Before they seemingly disappear from history, Primus instructs the Wolf King to begin building Der Eisendrache. September 19th, 1318. Honoring the Wolf King's dying request, his loyal servant Arthur scatters and buries his bones in the grounds of Der Eisendrache, accompanied by the King's Wolf. September 20th, 1318. Temporal rifts teleport Arthur to Resolution 1295 in 2025 Angola. June 30th, 1908. A meteor containing element 115 crashes near the stony Tunguska River. August 30th, 1925. Dr. Edward Richtofen joins the Illuminati. February 4th, 1931. Large deposits of element 115 are discovered near Breslin, Germany. Dr. Ludwig Maxis, a German scientist, is sent to investigate. May 10th, 1931. Maxis forms Group 935, an international organization dedicated to the study of element 115. Maxis tells his scientists they represent the future of technological advancement and will be pioneers of human discovery. The group swears to work in secrecy from their respective governments. As Maxis says, we cannot afford to let this power fall into the wrong hands. November 5th, 1934. Samantha Maxis is born. Her mother dies in childbirth. August 11th, 1936. Maxis invites Richtofen to join Group 935. He agrees, secretly acting on behalf of the Illuminati's interest. April 10th, 1937. The Imperial Japanese Army discovers element 115 meteor fragments in a swamp within Japanese territory. They build the Rising Sun facility to continue research. Division 9 is created to oversee its operation. June 14th, 1937. The United States government discovers deposits of element 115 at Groom Lake. July 2nd, 1939. Maxis and Richtofen begin teleportation experiments with the matter transference prototype. To mild success, the subjects are teleported, but their chemical composition is altered, leaving them catatonic and changed. August 5th, 1939. Using element 115, Maxis and Richtofen resurrect one of the teleported corpses for the first time. Initially, it obeys, but soon becomes rabid and attacks them. The test subject is euthanized. September 3rd, 1939. Richtofen begins development of the Wunderwaffe DG-2. November 23rd, 1939. Maxis turns to Reichstag for additional funding. Germany agrees to the request, expressing interest in their weapons research, teleportation technology, and the reanimated undead subjects. December 4th, 1939. During test trial 131, Richtofen and Dr. Schuster successfully teleport a walnut. This is first successful test where the chemical composition of the object is maintained throughout the process. December 5th, 1939. Edward's walnut delivery fails to impress Maxis, who declares it's a waste of time. He reveals to Richtofen that Group 935 will soon be funded by Germany. Richtofen worries this will lead to massive defections. He and Schuster decide to continue their teleportation experiments behind Maxis' back. January 4th, 1940. Richtofen and Schuster conduct their first human teleportation test. Richtofen is so confident in its success, he volunteers himself. Teleported to the moon, he encounters the MPD, the ether pyramid hidden by the Apothicons. While inspecting the device, Richtofen is electrocuted and begins hearing the many voices of corruption, including that of the Shadow Man. The device then teleports him to Shangri-La. Corrupted by the Dark Ether, Richtofen is gradually being driven insane by an obsession to find Agartha. January 5th, 1940. Richtofen is worshipped by the natives of Shangri-La. An altar is built in his name. Richtofen encounters the focusing stone for the first time. January 23rd, 1940. After a near-month absence, Richtofen returns to Schuster with a plan to build Griffin Station. January 24th, 1940. Richtofen renounces his involvement with the Illuminati. When asked how he could abandon his obligation to the Order, he says Teddy was a liar. March 13th, 1940. Construction of Griffin Station on the moon begins. Frustrated with Max's Maxis's alignment with Germany, other disgruntled 935 scientists join the cause. July 13, 1940, Maxis instructs his assistant Sophia to write a letter to the Reichsberg High Command requesting additional funds. Though he reports that mass production will soon be underway shortly, de Ries lacks not only the funding but sufficient volumes of element 115. August 1, 1940, in response to Maxis's request, Germany creates two new facilities for Group 935. They are the Kino facility, a repurposed theater, and the asylum facility at the Wittenau Sanatorium in Berlin. August 18, 1940. As per Germany's request, the Japanese Imperial Army hands over the Rising Sun facility to Group 935. Division 9 remains involved on site. October 3, 1940. Group 935 establishes a research facility in Siberia near the Tunguska River. November 6, 1940. Group 935 establishes a research facility at Der Eisendrah. June 24, 1941. Nikolai Belensky's wife is killed during the German advance into the Soviet Union. In an effort to numb the pain, Nikolai increasingly turns to vodka. January 11, 1942. Maxis gives Fluffy to Samantha. The dog is expecting a litter. January 20th, 1942. Maxis tests the first file for storage on the data servant. January 26, 1942. On the data servant, Maxis catalogs locations with prominent element 115 deposits. He includes information about its various application and cities that the reanimation of dead cells is a possible side effect. January 30th, 1942. Richthofen completes the Wunderwaffe DG-2 prototype. February 1st, 1942. With Griffin Station completed, Richthofen names Dr. Groff lead scientist and returns to Earth to continue the charade with Maxis. Working alongside Schuster, Groff is left to discover how to power the MPD. February 2, 1942. In a speech to his staff, Groff talks optimistically about Griffin Station's establishment as a permanent base of operations. April 17, 1942. Maxis develops the ray gun prototype at the Rising Sun facility. H. Porter works on developing the second generation model. June 13, 1942. A result of temporal rifts in 1963 Kino, Monty reaches across time and offers little nudges. One nudge is developing Group 935's element 115 fused elixirs. They created 4 medicinal beverages known as Juggernog, Quick Revive, Speed Cola, and Double Tap. June 28, 1942. Group 935 continues development of a weapons upgrade machine. July 18, 1942. Groff and Schuster unwillingly discover how to charge the MPD. When Schuster kills a rat near the device, its death inexplicably begins filling the tank, charging the device. They report their findings to Richthofen. July 20, 1942. Richthofen begins sending soldiers and scientists to the moon to be sacrificed, their souls used to charge the MPD. November 5, 1942. Takeo Masaki is dispatched by the Emperor to oversee the work of Group 935 and Division 9 at the Rising Sun facility. December 8, 1942. Richthofen shares the element 115 based elixir recipes with Griffin Station. They develop Mule Kick. December 9, 1942. Nikolai's brother is killed in the Battle of Stalingrad. December 14, 1942. Richthofen creates the monkey bomb. December 16, 1942. In a personal log, Maxis expresses concern over element 115's impact on Richthofen's behavior. No longer trusting him, he wonders if it was a mistake to invite him to Group 935. December 20th, 1942. Accompanied by Sophia, Maxis is transferred to the Kino facility to focus on creating Germany's undead army. Samantha is left in Richthofen's care. January 8th, 1943. Maxis worries he and Sophia have grown too close. He considers sending her away. January 16th, 1943. Nikolai is captured by German forces during the Battle of Stalingrad. He becomes a subject in Group 935 experiments. January 27th, 1943. Maxis reports success with Subject 26, whose violent outbursts have been greatly reduced. Maxis believes this method of treatment will be 100% effective in most cases. February 2nd, 1943. The Battle of Stalingrad ends. February 10th, 1943. Maxis reports the treatment has been perfected. He believes if Subject 26 can retain the impressions longer than 26 hours, then the delivery of the zombie army can be accelerated. February 12th, 1943. After attacking a handler, Subject 26 is killed and deemed another setback. May 18th, 1943. Harvey Yenna begins his work on Group 935. June 4th, 1943, Primus arrives from Dimension 63. In an effort to prevent the events that are about to unfold, they formulate a plan to stop this dimension's Richtofen. June 11th, 1943, Richtofen is contacted from the house by Maxis, who warns that the test subjects must never be allowed to be awakened. The havoc that could be wreaked upon the future by such simple-minded individuals would be catastrophic. June 13th, 1943, Takeo reports to the Emperor that the work being done on the Rising Sun facility is unacceptable. July 19th, 1943, Primus Richtofen is teleported to the house in Agartha, reuniting him with Maxis. July 24th, 1943, on the orders of the Emperor, Takeo is taken prisoner by Group 935 in Division 9. He is used as a test subject for experiments. July 14th, 1944. After the setbacks with Subject 26, Maxis reports new success with the Undead Army. However, he maintains his belief that the undead cannot be controlled or maintained. September 2nd, 1944. Pablo Marinas, a Mexican spy, is captured by Group 935 at Der Eisendrache. May 9th, 1945. In his cell, Pablo writes of visions of a great war. He describes a great battle against strange demon-like creatures who were trying to devour the earth. In his vision, he sees 4 knights protect him from certain death. He makes a note that the knights wore tunics similar to those in Der Eisendrache. June 4th, 1945, Nocturne Toten. An Allied plane malfunctions over an airfield and crashes. German army trucks transporting the undead in Element 115 between Group 935 facilities are stuck in the crash. The Marines surviving the crash hold out against the undead as long as they can. June 17th, 1945, Peter McCain infiltrates Group 935 at Derice. June 29th, 1945, Groff and Schuster develop the wave gun. July 15th, 1945, Richtofen travels to the Siberian facility to do further research on live specimens. As her temporary guardian, he takes Samantha with him. Group 935 begins transferring 3 test subjects for experimentation: Nikolai, Pablo, and Takeo. July 29th, 1945. While Richtofen works at the Siberian facility, Group 935 begins the development of Deadshot Daiquiri. August 1st, 1945, the test subjects arrive at the Siberian facility for Richtofen's experiments. August 31st, 1945, CIA handler Cornelius Purnell confirms that Peter McCain has successfully infiltrated Group 935 and has been transferred to the asylum facility. Cornelius suspects Group 935 is losing control of their experiments and has sent in a Marine recon unit to extract McCain. Tank Dempsey is to lead the squad. September 1st, 1945. Peter is outed as a spy and captured by Group 935. September 2nd, 1945. Richtofen reports Pablo has died following a spleen removal. He also reveals he's been performing experiments on Samantha. September 2nd, 1945. World War II ends, Group 935 continues their research. September 2nd, 1945. Temporal rifts begin to affect the asylum facility. An orderly reports increasing problems with test subjects. Many in the facility have begun hearing voices coming from the walls, including the sobbing of a boy and a girl, screaming, and a man shouting for children to close the windows. September 3rd, 1945. An outbreak occurs at the asylum facility. Peter McCain escapes. September 6th, 1945. Verrucht. Dempsey, John Banana, Smokey, and the 4th Marine arrive at the asylum facility to find it overrun by zombies. They fight off the horde as long as they can. Dempsey is apprehended by Group 935. September 6th, 1945. John Banana writes messages and records his last words while being eaten alive by an undead Smokey. September 10th, 1945. Richtofen reports another spy has been captured and will be brought to replace the Mexican. The subject is Dempsey. September 13th, 1945. Cornelius Purnell attempts to send a transmission to Peter McCain, telling him to rendezvous at the Rising Sun facility. September 17th, 1945. Dempsey arrives at the Siberian facility. September 20th, 1945. Richtofen documents the personality traits of his test subjects. Dempsey's intellect seems low, but his will is strong. Takeo is still staring at the floor, muttering what sounds like some kind of proverb over and over again. Nikolai has recently begun responding to stimuli, but only after injections of a new serum made primarily from vodka. Richtofen notes that their minds have been almost entirely broken, with no memory remaining of who they once were. September 24th, 1945. Maxis returns to Derice. He orders Richtofen to do likewise so they may continue their work on the matter transference device. September 27th, 1945. Richtofen returns to Derice with Dempsey, Nikolai, Takeo, and Samantha. October 1st, 1945. Maxis reports on Richtofen's findings with his live test subjects, noting that while their baseline psych remains intact, all specific memories have been lost. October October 1st, 1945. Infuriated to learn that Maxis has not been mass-producing the DG2 as he swore he would, Richtofen reveals in his plot to destroy Maxis and Samantha, vowing that he will no longer continue to work on his undead army. October 8th, 1945. Groff reports to Richtofen the MPD is nearly ready. October 12th, 1945. Groff radios Richtofen to inform him that the device has been powered up and is awaiting the conduit. Richtofen says he will proceed with Operation Shield and dispose of Maxis and Samantha. October 13th, 1945. Though frustrated that the matter transferences tested have been largely unsuccessful, Maxis acknowledges that the test subjects' departure from their original point of origin is undeniable. However, Richtofen's suggestion that the subjects have been transported not through space but time itself causes Maxis to worry if his irrationality may soon prove a liability to our endeavors. October 13th, 1945. Maxis and Richtofen perform teleportation test trials on test subjects number 3, 4, and 5. All fail, including test 5, where Maxis uses Fluffy. Test 6 fails. Fluffy, now changed, is teleported back into the chamber. Samantha sees Fluffy and runs into the teleporter. Maxis chases after her. Richtofen seals them both in the test chamber and teleports all 3 of them. October 13th, 1945. Samantha is teleported to the moon while Groff and Schuster work out the MPD. Running into the MPD, she is drawn inside of it where she becomes corrupted by the dark ether. October 13th, 1945. Maxis is teleported to the crazy place and develops the power to merge with electricity. October 13th, 1945. Richtofen returns to the moon. Learning Samantha is trapped in the MPD, he orders Groff to teleport Maxis there to coax her out of the device. He also warns Groff to keep an eye out for an evil-looking dog. October 13th, 1945. In an effort to free Samantha, Maxis approaches the MPD and persuades her to come out. Once she does, Maxis gives her an instruction: kill them all. Maxis kills himself and merges with the technology of Griffin Station, while Samantha unleashes the undead upon the base. October 14th, 1945. H. Porter activates the alarm as an outbreak occurs at Derice. Before taking a cyanide capsule, he says he's all out of hope, God forgive us all. October 14th, 1945. Richtofen returns to Derice and awakens Dempsey, Takio, and Nikolai. With no recollection of who they are or who Richtofen is, they agreed to help him. The 4 would become known as Ultimus. October 18th, 1945. Peter McCain parachutes over the Rising Sun facility. He dies shortly after. October 21st, 1945, Shinonuma. Ultimus travels to the Rising Sun facility to recover Richtofen's diary. Upon reading it, Richtofen begins to form his plan to defeat Samantha. October 28th, 1945, Derice. Ultimus returns to Derice. With his diary, Richtofen plans to use the teleporter to return to the moon and confront Samantha. Unfortunately, the Wunderwaffe DG2 overloads the teleporter and sends them through time, causing Richtofen to drop his diary. November 5th, 1945. Group 935 is disbanded. January 19th, 1946. The United States and the Soviet Union share the resources recovered from Group 935's various research stations. Richtofen's diary is among the items recovered by the Soviet Union. January 27th, 1946. The Pentagon hires many former Group 935 scientists in an effort to replicate their work. January 29th, 1946. As with their U.S. counterparts, the Soviets hire many former Group 935 scientists. Among them is Harvey Yenna, who forms the Ascension Group. July 29th, 1952. The Pentagon begins experiments involving their own versions of the undead. May 12th, 1955. The U.S. government transfers a number of Element 115 experiments to Groom Lake. October 19th, 1955. Gersh and Yuri begin working on the Ascension Group. April 23rd, 1956. Shangri-La. Explorers Brock and Gary discover Shangri-La. During an eclipse, they're unwittingly trapped in a time loop. Sally, sent back in time from 2011, is trapped in the same loop. Ultimus arrives in Shangri-La. With the help of Brock and Gary, they acquire the focusing stone. June 3rd, 1959. The Pentagon constructs their own prototype teleporter and commence experimentation. March 13th, 1962. Studying Group 935's medicinal elixir research, the Ascension Group develops PhD Flopper and Stamina Up. November 11th, 1962. Gersh begins work on Project Thunder. December 12th, 1962. Gersh and Yuri begin to work on the Gersh device, codenamed Project Mercury. June 15th, 1963. The Pentagon begins development of their own version of the Wunderwaffe DG2. August 17th, 1963. The Pentagon begins development on their own version of the Winter's Howl. October 28th, 1963, Kino der Toten. From Derice, Ultimus teleports to Kino. This marks the first time Ultimus travels across space and time. Temporal rifts occur across dimensions. In light of these developments, Monty feels obligated to step in and begins to make changes in the background across time. He helps Group 935 invent perk machines. He adds chalk drawings to walls, little nudges. Ultimus locates a lunar lander and fly to the Ascension facility. October 29th, 1963. Gersh informs the senior staff that Yuri has been removed from Project Mercury and has been transferred to rocket research. October 29th, 1963. Yuri begins to notice the appearance of children's toys around the facility. November 1st, 1963. Upon reading Richtofen's diary, Yuri begins to hear Samantha's voice. Over several days, her voice will consume him, driving him to the brink of insanity. She orders him to resume work on the Gersh device. He obeys. November 4th, 1963. Gersh announces to the committee that Project Thunder is nearing completion. Gersh reveals Yuri may need to be removed from Ascension entirely. Having observed his being hostile towards other scientists and frequently observed muttering to himself. November 5th, 1963. Obeying Samantha's wishes, Yuri tricks Gersh into activating the Gersh device. The rift created absorbs him and allows Samantha to travel through. Yuri is also absorbed and transported to the Pentagon. November 6th, 1963. Ascension. Ultimus arrives at the Soviet Cosmodrome and free Gersh from the Casimir mechanism. Richtofen recovers his diary and learns that they need the Vril device from the Siberian facility from his plan. Maintaining his ethereal form, Gersh sends them into a rift to their next destination before beginning his travels across space and time. November 6, 1963. 5. In the Pentagon, JFK, Richard Nixon, Robert McNamara meet with Fidel Castro in the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Due to the events at the Cosmodrome, a zombie outbreak occurs. Samantha sends Yuri to the Pentagon to thwart their survival. After Gersh is freed and Ultimus departs from the Cosmodrome, the outbreak ends at the Pentagon. All four survive. November 19th, 1963. In an effort to avoid another undead outbreak, the U.S. government creates the Broken Arrow program, establishing several facilities across the country. The Groom Lake program is folded into Broken Arrow. August 11th, 1973. Broken Arrow recovers a shard of element 115 from Division 9. September 29th, 1979. Russman begins work at Broken Arrow. Over the course of his employment, his extensive exposure to element 115 leads to significant memory loss. April 20th, 1983. Broken Arrow begins live animal experiments with the shard, creating bios. June 24th, 1986. A containment breach involving the bios occurs at one of the Broken Arrow facilities. Russman is one of the few to escape alive. The facility is shut down and abandoned. Its projects are transferred to other locations. June 24th, 1996. Victus arrives at the abandoned Broken Arrow facility. Still being pursued by undead Richtofen, they recover the element 115 shard and depart through another rift. March 17th, 2011. Call of the Dead. After entering the rift, Ultimus arrives at the Siberian facility in 2011, where they find themselves trapped in a closet while George A. Romero films his latest project at the location. Samantha, in her pursuit of Ultimus, unleashes an undead outbreak. The film stars fight the undead horde, ultimately recovering the Vril device for Richtofen. Ultimus teleports back to Shangri-La in an effort to acquire the next artifact required to defeat Samantha, the Focusing Stone. April 11th, 2011. Following the disappearance of the Call of the Dead cast and crew, Romero's assistant Sally begins the search for her boss. Her journey leads her to Shangri-La during an eclipse, which sends her back in time to April 23rd, 1956. April 10th, 2025. Broken Arrow creates the Denizens. July 8th, 2025. Broken Arrow accidentally creates Avogadro. September 1st, 2025. In desperate need of more element 115, Broken Arrow used an excavator to drill near the nuclear testing facility known as Nuketown. October 13th, 2025. Moon. Using the Vril device and the Focusing Stone, Richtofen completes his grand scheme and swaps bodies with Samantha on the moon, giving him full control of the zombies and the ether. Maxis contacts the remaining members of the Ultimus through the station's electronics and asks for their help to defeat Richtofen. They agree. They launch missiles at Earth, leaving it fractured and broken. They sever Richtofen's connection with the ether, but he maintains in control over the zombies. Once Maxis controls the ether in 2035, he returns to the moon and plucks Samantha from Richtofen's body to join him in Agartha. October 13th, 2025. Nuketown zombies. A nuclear bomb explodes outside of Nuketown as a result of Broken Arrow's drilling. CIA and CDC operatives arrive to find an undead outbreak already in progress. One of the missiles from the moon hits Nuketown, killing all on sight except for Marlton Johnson, who survives by hiding in a nuclear bunker. October 13th, 2025. The Earth fracturing triggers further temporal rifts, teleporting an 1800s American western town underneath a mining facility in Angola. Arthur is pulled through the rift from 1318, arriving in the now buried town. November 5th, 2025. Broken Arrow is disbanded after the primary facility is lost in a fire. It is later believed to be an act of arson committed by employees destroying evidence implicating them in the outbreak. Russman, his mind broken after over 40 years of exposure to element 115, begins to wander the Earth. March 18, 2027, in a distress call, former CDC Assistant Director George Barkley reveals that the infectious contaminants have gone airborne. He advises caution regarding any allies showing signs of short-term memory loss, psychosis, delusion, and paranoia. March 27, 2027, a society of survivors who eats undead is formed. They are the Flesh. May 12, 2027, Samuel J. Stuhlinger joins the Flesh. June 28, 2027, through the consumption of the undead meat, the Flesh begin hearing Richtofen's voice. He tries to persuade them to build global polarization devices for him to pursue his new plan, to mend the rift in space and time and acquire full control over the ether. June 28, 2027, Maxis begins communicating to survivors on Earth, telling those willing to listen to build global polarization devices for him in pursuit of his new plan, to open Agartha and reunite him with Samantha, even though it will result in the destruction of the Earth. April 4th, 2028, the Flesh broadcast their message across all frequencies. They tell others to heed our call, and that's the path to enlightenment is achieved by consuming the undead. December 9th, 2028, Max's followers begin constructing a spire near the Hanford site facility. January 3rd, 2029, Max's followers begin to doubt him, believing he may in fact be evil. They destroy their electronics. March 2nd, 2029, Max's followers attempt to speak to him again. Many have begun to hear Richtofen, and those loyal to Maxis eagerly await further instruction. August 15th, 2029, a broadcast is sent out confirming the fall of the Flesh and Max's followers. With each group hearing the voice of Richtofen or Maxis, a battle broke out between them. As they fought, a zombie horde moved in and destroyed all who remained. Stuhlinger is one of the few to escape. Richtofen and Maxis are left with no one to communicate near Green Run, where the first polarization device must be constructed. October 13th, 2035, Stuhlinger bumps into Russman, who has stolen a bus from an abandoned Broken Arrow facility. October 21st, 2035, Transit. Stuhlinger and Russman run into Marlton and Abigail Misty Brierton. At a diner near the Hanford site facility, Maxis asks them to complete the polarization device in his favor. Stuhlinger, having consumed zombies' meat, is contacted by Richtofen, who orders Stuhlinger to construct the device for him instead. The crew constructs the device for Maxis. The floor would become known as Victus. October 22nd, 2035, Die Rise. Still hoping to regain control, Richtofen teleports Victus to Province 22, where he demands that Stuhlinger activate the second polarization device. Once again, the crew sides with Maxis. The voice ceases for some time, leaving Victus to wander the Earth. December 31st, 2035, Buried. Victus arrives in an old western town now located beneath a mining facility in Angola. They discover Arthur in a jail cell. He assists them on their journey. The voices of Maxis and Richtofen return. They activate the final polarization device in Maxis' favor. Now corrupted by the dark ether, he reveals his true intentions to Victus and punishes Richtofen by trapping his soul in a zombie. Drawn into Agartha by her father, Samantha witnesses the evil that has corrupted him. When a rift opens in Dimension 63 in 1918, she reaches out to the Timeline's Maxis for help. January 10th, 2036, Richtofen instructs undead Richtofen to pursue Victus and recover their blood vials. January 19th, 2036, Primus Richtofen begins to manipulate Stuhlinger, opening a rift for Victus to begin their new journey. Pursued by undead Richtofen and an army of undead, Victus enters the rift. January 19th, 2036, Maxis destroys Earth and all its surviving inhabitants. Dimension 63. January 15th, 1292. The Great War between humanity and the Apothicans begins. April 14th, 1294. Sir Pablo Marinus is saved from the clutches of Amargua by 4 unknown heroes. They would later become known as Primus. December 31st, 1299. Together with the Keepers, Primus defeats the Apothicans, bringing the Great War to an end. January 1st, 1300. Before they seemingly disappear from history, Primus instructs the Wolf King to begin building Der Eisendra. February 18th, 1300. Pablo begins documenting the Great War, including all he has learned about the Keepers, Apothicans, and Element 115. Regarding Element 115's power, he notes that a site in northern France contains massive deposits of the element. June 4th, 1300. In northern France, a tomb is constructed to honor the fallen soldier of the Great War. Within it, statues of Primus are constructed to symbolize the hope that if one day a great evil falls upon mankind, they may return. July 17th, 1898. Edward Richtofen's parents die. February 20th, 1905. Takeo Masaki fights in the Battle of Mukden. August 11th, 1906, Richtofen begins his studies at Heidelberg University under the tutelage of Dr. Ludwig Maxis. Having lost his parents, Richtofen comes to view him as a father figure. July 3rd, 1912, Richtofen and Maxis join Group 935. June 4th, 1914, Richtofen is visited by another version of himself. Handing him some blood vials, he explains, You will need this blood. When the time comes, it will protect you, before stepping back through the rift. January 5th, 1915, Maxis invents the Mauser prototype. August 28th, 1916, the journal of Sir Pablo Marinus, Knight of the Great War, is discovered by Group 935. March 23rd, 1917, using information gathered from Pablo's journal, Group 935 begins work at a dig site in northern France, where they discover a series of underground tombs. April 21st, 1917. Group 935 discovers what appears to be the entrance to the tomb's main chamber. They struggle to gain access. May 11th, 1917. Unable to access the main chamber, soldiers listen to a gramophone to alleviate their frustration. When listening to a recording of La Source Noire, the entrance to the main chamber unexpectedly opens. The camp's exposure to element 115 begins. May 21st, 1917. Using information from Pablo's journal in the tomb's main chamber, Maxis draws schematics for the creation of the 4 elemental staffs and instructs Richtofen to begin their construction. May 29th, 1917. The more Maxis reads of the Great War, the more he begins to question his understanding of the scientific world and the true nature of the universe itself. He finds himself open to the possibility of a higher power. June 11th, 1917. As Group 935 experiments with element 115, they successfully create localized energy fields which appear to function as portals. Noting that objects can pass through them, Maxis speculates that the rifts may have opened gateways across space and time. The rifts allow Samantha to reach out to Maxis from Agartha. She begs for help and ultimately reveals she is his daughter. June 15th, 1917. An ancient box with the power to manifest weapons from different eras arrives through a portal. Maxis fears that element 115 is disrupting the space-time continuum. July 1st, 1917. Following the installation of element 115 power generators, reports surfaced regarding ancient figures emerging from the dig site. Corresponding with the mysterious deaths of a number of Group 935 soldiers, the ancient figures are undead knights from the Great War. August 3rd, 1917. Nikolai Belensky is sent to exile. September 10th, 1917. Using element 115, Group 935 constructs Frey, Odin, and Thor, giant robots who they believe will secure victory for the Central Powers. September 22nd, 1917. Richtofen notes that in spite of Group 935's progress at the dig site, he is troubled by Maxis' growing obsession with Pablo's diary. October 6th, 1917. Takeo Masaki is dispatched to France by the Emperor to gather intel on Group 935's weapon technology. November 19th, 1917. Following reports of prototype armored weaponry, strange lights in the sky, a mysterious plague, and even giant metal men, Tank Dempsey is deployed in northern France to assess the extent of Group 935's capabilities. December 10th, 1917. Already exiled in Europe, Nikolai receives new orders from the Imperial Russian Army to investigate the enemy's war machine. Still loyal to the motherland, he willingly obliges. February 23, 1918. Nikolai writes of the ongoing civil war in the homeland. He does not expect peace to last long, but he is enjoying this time in France. March 2, 1918. Learning that the Emperor wishes to meet him to discuss a matter of great importance to our nation, Takeo writes that he feels a growing sense of dread in the wake of his recent dark, twisted dreams. April 14, 1918. Despite ongoing battles, Dempsey fares well in northern France. In a personal letter, he reveals that both the Japanese and Russian armies have also sent spies to investigate the activities of Group 935. May 1st, 1918. Maxis is obsessed with the voice of Samantha, who now speaks to him constantly. He believes her to be the key to everything. May 12th, 1918. Believing that his mentor has been affected by element 115 like the others at the dig site, Richtofen reports Maxis' erratic behavior to Group 935's senior staff. May 13th, 1918. Richtofen learns from Pablo's journal that the northern France dig site may be the single largest deposit of element 115 on Earth. He believes this explains why it has affected so many at the site. May 14th, 1918. Now completely consumed by Samantha's voice, Maxis swears he will no longer serve Group 935's mission. June 4th, 1918. Element 115 awakens the undead knights from the Great War and quickly consumes the camp. Maxis is rendered catatonic by the element. Richtofen removes his brain before he turns. Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo unite with Richtofen on the battlefield and help free Samantha from her imprisonment in Agartha. Primus has been reunited. Samantha sends Primus to their next destination. Maxis's brain arrives in Agartha and Dr. Monty decides to step in. Monty brings Maxis's brain to the house and wipes the Maxis corrupted by dark ether from existence. July 18th, 1922. Salvador Sal DeLuca opens gambling houses across Chicago. This marks the beginning of the DeLuca crime family. February 17th, 1923. Billy Hanson joins the DeLuca crime family as a hitman. Sal will come back to look at Billy as the son he never had. September 18th, 1923. An expert in gambling and rigging sporting events, Michael Finn O'Leary begins working for Sal. March 23rd, 1924. Finn marries Angelina Bow, an inspiring starlet with delusion of grandeur. March 1st, 1929. Sal writes of his frustrations with the Chicago's finest. After many years of successful bribes with the city, it becomes clear that he is no longer an option. May 11th, 1930. Sal begins to work with Albert Arlington, an associate in Los Angeles known for being a master schemer and bank robber. October 10th, 1930. Finn informs his lawyer he will not accept divorce from Angelina, saying she could leave this marriage when she leaves Earth. October 11th, 1931. After an LA heist for Sal goes wrong, Al wakes up in the hospital. October 28th, 1931. While in the hospital, Al submits Icarus from Mars for publication as a comic strip. This is his third attempt and it is denied again. November 11th, 1931. Angry and frustrated with his collapsing empire, Sal kills a prostitute. No longer willing to turn a blind eye, Chicago PD arrest him. December 1st, 1931. In an operation against the DeLuca crime family, Billy is arrested for multiple homicides. December 19th, 1931. In an operation against the DeLuca crime family, Finn is arrested by Chicago PD when his wife offers evidence against him. January 19th, 1932. Al is arrested for his role in the LA heist. May 14th, 1932. Sal is found guilty of murder. He is sentenced to life in prison at Alcatraz. May 16th, 1932. Billy is found guilty of 116 counts of murder. He is sentenced to life in prison at Alcatraz. May 30th, 1932. Finn is found guilty of 16 counts of gambling fraud. He will serve his sentence at Alcatraz. June 13th, 1932. Sal and Billy arrive at Alcatraz Island. June 30th, 1932. Finn arrives at Alcatraz Island. July 1st, 1932. Al is found guilty of grand larceny, grand theft auto, arson, conspiracy, and battery. He will serve his sentence at Alcatraz. August 3rd, 1932. Al arrives at Alcatraz Island. January 13th, 1933. Stanley Ferguson begins working at Alcatraz Island. April 1st, 1933. Al convinces Sal, Finn, and Billy that they can build a plane and escape Alcatraz. December 2nd, 1933. Realizing the plane will never be completed and embittered with rage, Sal, Finn, and Billy plot to get revenge on Al. December 31st, 1933. Finn, Sal, and Billy lure Al to the roof and kill him. January 11th, 1934. Stepping through a rift, Richtofen secures the blood samples of Sal and Finn. January 19th, 1934. Found guilty of Al's murder, Sal, Finn, and Billy are executed by electric chair. Mob of the Dead. Sal, Finn, Billy, and Al battle waves of the undead as they find themselves trapped in a seemingly endless cycle. April 16th, 1940. Richtofen arrives in Dimension 63, where he contacts members of the Illuminati and enlists their help to build a laboratory facility beneath Alcatraz. April 18th, 1940. Richtofen meets with Stanley Ferguson and convinces him to assist with the Illuminati's construction of the Alcatraz laboratory. July 3rd, 1941. Stanley Ferguson reports that the laboratory has been completed and that the subjects will be placed in the stasis chambers upon arrival. July 4th, 1941. Richtofen returns to the lab under Alcatraz where he meets Victus. Arriving from the empty Earth with the Chronorium, upon reading the Chronorium, Richtofen discovers numerous timelines documenting their fates and learns about the blood vials. He would later write on the page, "I know now what I must do. ER 4741. Richtofen enters a rift to acquire the blood of Sal and Finn. After delivering the blood to his younger self and recovering the blood vials belonging to Victus, he returns. Victus is placed on ice to be kept safe until they are needed next. July 4th, 1941. Primus arrives to collect the Victus blood samples from Richtofen. Following Primus's departure, Richtofen learns the location of the summoning key and travels to his next destination. October 1st, 1943. Stanley Ferguson leaves employment at Alcatraz. October 21st, 1943. Posing as Mr. Rapt, the Shadow Man hires the reporter to recover artifacts from the South Pacific and Russia. December 14th, 1943. The reporter recovers the artifacts from the South Pacific and Russia. Among them is the summoning key. December 25th, 1943. As per Mr. Rapp's request, the reporter speaks to Stanley Ferguson, a retired guard from Alcatraz. Stanley gives a detailed account of the deaths of Al Arlington, Billy Handsome, Finn O'Leary, and Sal DeLuca. December 31st, 1943. At Mr. Rapp's request, the reporter arrives in Morgue City to take in its sights, sounds, and smells. January 15th, 1944. A meteor shower rains over Morgue City. January 30th, 1944. The reporter notes strange mold now growing all over the city. He also notes people are getting sick and acting delirious. February 13th, 1944. A fruit vendor tells the reporter about the ancient order of the Keepers and how they're the only ones holding back forces of the apocalypse. He talks of people hearing chanting from beneath the city. March 30th, 1944. The reporter sends Mr. Rapp a telegram providing details and contact information for Nero, Jessica Rose, Floyd Campbell, and Jack Vincent. April 5th, 1944. Aware of the Shadow Man's actions, Monty writes to the reporter, warning him not to give the summoning key to anyone. April 10th, 1944. Jessica Rose learns a photographer is in possession of compromising pictures of her. April 20th, 1944. Pretending to be a company executive, the Shadow Man tells Nero's lawyer that Nero's wife has taken out substantial loans in his name. Nero has 15 days to settle this before the company seeks reparation. Facing multiple debts due to his wife's spending habits, Nero decides to kill his wife and use her life insurance to pay debt. April 20th, 1944. Masquerading as an internal affairs officer, the Shadow Man tries to convince Jack Vincent's partners to admit that Jack is on the take. Upon learning that the internal affairs is snooping around, Jack plots to kill the snitch who could provide evidence against him. April 20th, 1944. The Shadow Man poses as a film director interested in hiring Jessica for a leading role. He tells her producer the part is hers. Afraid that the photographer could jeopardize her chance at stardom, she asks him to meet her so they can sort stuff out. April 20th, 1944. Posing as a journalist, the Shadow Man suggests Floyd Campbell as a journeyman fighter to Floyd's promoter. Wanting to guarantee a shot at the title, Floyd decides to wear brass knuckles under his gloves for the fight with Tony King. April 21st, 1944. Nero misses a call from his lawyer informing him the documents were forged and there's nothing to worry about. April 21st, 1944. Jack misses a call from his partner saying he has his back with the internal affairs and has nothing to worry about. April 21st, 1944. Floyd misses a call from his promoter that the fight was a success and that he has a shot at the title. April 21st, 1944. Jessica misses a call from her producer. He says that he didn't have a good feeling about the director and it didn't work out. However, he scored her a lead in a musical that he and his partner are financing. Jessica kills the photographer and secures the incriminating photos. Jack kills the snitch who could turn him over to internal affairs. Floyd kills Tony King in the boxing match and cashes in on his winnings. Nero kills his wife in a work accident, cashing in her life insurance policy to square away with his debts. Richtofen arrives in Morgue City to secure the summoning key. April 22nd, 1944. Richtofen learns the reporter has the summoning key and confronts him. The reporter waves Monty's letter at Richtofen and orders him to stay away before attacking him. Richtofen kills the reporter in self-defense. April 25th, 1944. Shadows of Evil. Nero, Jack, Floyd, and Jessica are knocked unconscious at the Black Lace Burlesque Club. They wake up in a twisted version of Morgue City, shifted slightly from reality. Told they can atone for their sins by the Shadow Man, all four are tricked into performing rituals. Jessica sacrifices her producer, Jack sacrifices his partner, Floyd sacrifices his promoter, and Nero sacrifices his lawyer. Completing the required rituals, the Apothecans are given access to Dimension 63. Realizing they've been duped, the four work with the Keepers to defeat the Shadow Man. They trap him in the summoning key, but before they can hand it over to the Keepers, Primus Richtofen arrives and steals the key. Richtofen travels to Dimension 2210 to secure an innocent Richtofen soul. He delivers the soul to the house. From within the summoning key, the Shadow Man states, "I'll be seeing you." April 26, 1944. The Apothecans destroy Dimension 63.